and welcome to Unveiling Buddhism episode 44. In this episode, we explore the Buddha's first teaching to the 5 ascetics at Deer Park, Varanasi. Discover the valuable lessons from this crucial moment that remain relevant to our lives today. After Upaka left, the Buddha continued his journey to the Deer Park in Varanasi, arriving on the evening of a full moon. The setting sun cast a soft golden glow and the temperature was beginning to cool. From a distance, he saw 5 familiar figures. Do you remember the 5 ascetics? They were Siddhartha's companions after he left the palace. Inspired by the great seer Asita's prediction that Siddhartha would become the Buddha, they dedicated themselves to supporting and serving him for 35 years. They admired his extreme ascetic practices, believing he is close to nirvana, the enlightenment state. Imagine their shock when Siddhartha decided to end his fast. To them, it felt like a betrayal, and they left him, refusing to hear any explanation. When the 5 ascetics saw Buddha approaching, they agreed to ignore him. To them, Siddhartha had abandoned his quest and lost his way. They had no idea he had attained nirvana. But the Buddha, understanding their thoughts, radiated metta, boundless loving kindness. As he drew nearer, his presence softened their defenses. Despite their plan, they found themselves compelled to welcome him. One took his alms bowl, another prepared a seat, one brought water to drink, another set up a place for him to rest, and the last one brought a pot to wash his feet. However, they addressed him as friend Gautama, treating him as their equal. Gautama was Buddha's family name. The 5 ascetics greeted him with a friendly, almost teasing tone. "Friend Gautama," they said, "back in the Uruvela forest, we looked after you. We carried your alms bowl, brought water, and kept things clean. After we left, who took care of you? Did you feel lost without us?" Buddha calmly replied, "Please do not call me Gautama or friend. I have attained enlightenment and truly seen the ultimate truth. Listen closely, and I can teach you the way to nirvana too. If you follow my path, you can experience nirvana in this very life." The 5 ascetics were doubtful. They replied, "Friend Gautama, even when you pushed yourself to the extreme for 6 years, you did not attain enlightenment. Now that you've stepped back and focused on simple things like food and comfort, how could you have reached supreme knowledge?" Are you wondering why Buddha cared so much about how he was addressed? It's not that he was hung up on titles. He was an enlightened being, beyond ego and pride. But he understood that if the 5 ascetics continued to see him as just Gautama, they'd never take his teachings seriously. Out of compassion, he wanted to adjust their perspective. Think of it this way. Imagine you are a qualified doctor on a flight, and oops, suddenly there's a medical emergency. What does the flight attendant do first? They ask if there's a doctor on board, right? And when you step forward, you don't hide the fact that you're a doctor. Why? Because people need to trust that you have the expertise to help. In the same way, Buddha knew that unless the 5 ascetics saw him as the Buddha he had become, they would not be open to his teachings. He had to shift their view of him first, so they would have the faith needed to truly listen and learn. Likewise, if we regard Buddha just as another wise philosopher from Asia, we will limit our understanding of dharma. In our minds, dharma is just another philosophy. This is why we need to fully understand the significance of what Buddha represents and why we explored the 10 honorifics of Buddha in the previous episode. Now back to the story. Buddha responded patiently, yet firmly. "I have not abandoned meditation, nor am I here seeking offerings. I am truly enlightened, with clear and direct knowledge of all truths. I've realized the deathless nirvana, and I'm ready to teach you the way. If you follow my guidance, you too can experience the joy of nirvana in this very life. Despite his words, the 5 ascetics remained doubtful and repeated their skepticism. Before the Buddha introduced the middle way, ancient Indians believed that transcending the ordinary world required either extreme meditation or extreme renunciation. Extreme meditation referred to the practices Siddhartha learned from his 2 meditation teachers, while extreme renunciation meant abstaining completely from worldly needs. Having already led a highly disciplined life as a shramana, Siddhartha took things even further by depriving himself of food and limiting his breath. So in the eyes of the 5 ascetics, when Siddhartha accepted food from Sujata and broke his fast, it seemed as though he had abandoned his quest for nirvana. Seeing their hesitation, Buddha tried a different approach. He asked, "During all those years of intense asceticism, did I ever come to you claiming I saw special visions or experienced signs to gain your admiration?" The 5 ascetics thought back and realized something important. If he ever claimed he was enlightened back then, we would have believed him without question. But he never tried to impress or mislead us, and now he speaks with such confidence. Their doubt began to dissolve, and with it, they saw Buddha with fresh respect. They understood they had misjudged him, assuming he had strayed from the path. Finally, convinced, they acknowledged, "No, Venerable Buddha, you never spoke to us like that before." With their minds open and ready to learn, the 5 ascetics listened to his words intently. Under the peaceful full moon of Asaha, around July, Buddha delivered his first teaching, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, or Turning the Wheel of Dharma. In that moment, the door toward enlightenment truly opened once again. Alrighty friends, we'll continue the story in future episodes. But today, let's pause and explore something powerful from this story. How the Buddha used metta, or genuine, unconditional loving kindness, to dissolve hostility. This brings us to a question that has troubled millions and billions. A lot of us feel helpless seeing so many lives lost, and more suffering from ongoing world conflicts and wars. If the Buddha were alive today, what would he do about these conflicts, or suggest we do? During his time, the Buddha always emphasized the importance of love, kindness, and compassion. You might be thinking these are fantastic positive thoughts, but remain as good old philosophy or theory, not practical at all. This is in fact not true. The Buddha himself faced hostility and violence. We just shared one story in this episode and some in the past, and we will continue to share more in future episodes. We've dedicated a few episodes to illustrate the benefits of metta based on the Metta Sutta. But today we want to specifically talk about how to apply metta, or genuine love, on a larger scale involving the world.
Hatred is never appeased by hatred in this world. By non-hatred alone is hatred appeased. This is a law eternal. Dhammapada, chapter 1, verse 5.
How does metta work?
To understand how metta, or genuine unconditional love, can be a solution to ongoing wars, we must first grasp its true nature. Metta is the genuine wish for others to be well and happy. It should not be mistaken for a passive feeling of goodwill, but recognized as an active force. Metta involves seeing the interconnectedness of all beings and understanding that true happiness arises from the well-being of others. By practicing metta, we cultivate a healthy and positive mind that desires happiness and freedom from suffering for everyone and every being. Imagine if leaders and individuals involved in conflicts and war adopted metta as a guiding principle. Instead of seeing opponents as enemies, they would view them as fellow human beings, part of a larger family, deserving of compassion and understanding. This shift could open the door to dialogue and reconciliation. Negotiations could become cooperative, seeking solutions that benefit all parties, not just one. While this is an ideal goal, let's be realistic. We can't immediately make everyone practice metta. We are not policymakers or world leaders. So what can we do? Metta starts with individuals. Each of us must begin within ourselves. It's a far more efficient and necessary starting point.
What can we do as an individual in applying metta in face of war or major conflict?
As individuals, we can promote peace by applying metta through grassroots efforts, fostering compassion, unity, and solidarity for those affected by war. A global culture of metta can inspire leaders to choose peace. However, if we demonstrate with anger or hold destructive gatherings, we are not promoting peace, but instead creating another form of conflict, which directly contradicts our original goal. Practical ways to spread peace through metta include volunteering for organizations, aiding conflict zones, advocating for peaceful solutions, and engaging in conversations to bridge divides. Participating in community meditations on loving kindness and dedicating merit to world peace can help create a positive collective energy. These actions remind us of the power of metta, transforming our minds and contributing to global harmony. Every act of loving kindness creates a ripple effect, spreading peace far and wide.
What happens when others' views differ from ours?
Let's be clear, metta is not a magic spell that changes people's minds or makes them love us. It's about cultivating genuine kindness and goodwill, both for ourselves and others, while freeing our minds from ill will and resentment. When the Buddha radiated metta in the face of hostility, he wasn't trying to win anyone over. He simply embodied metta and compassion. As he taught, hatred is never appeased by hatred, only by loving kindness. Real change begins with us by refraining from hate and choosing kindness. When we harbor aversion, it clouds our ability to understand others and deepens division. Seeking like-minded people only perpetuates the divide. Instead, we should aim to bridge gaps, not create them. So we just respect different views without the need to argue or fight to win others over to our perspective.
I do not care about the world's issues right now, because I'm dealing with office politics and family conflicts. So, how can metta help me?
Metta can guide us through any situation, offering a shield of protection. In a competitive work environment, instead of feeling anger or frustration towards colleagues vying for promotions, take a step back. Understand that their actions stem from desires or insecurities. This understanding enables you to respond with wisdom, not negativity. Similarly, when facing family conflicts, metta helps you avoid reacting with anger. By not mirroring their negativity, you neutralize the conflict and create space for peace. Remember, a fight needs two parties. Without one reacting, the conflict stops. Just like clapping requires two hands.
I see a lot of hate posts on social media. What can I do?
Practicing metta means refraining from sharing hostility or promoting hate, even unintentionally. For instance, if a video is going viral for the wrong reasons, shaming or stereotyping someone, choose not to share it. Metta teaches us to stay resilient in the face of negativity, avoid getting drawn into hate, and respond with kindness and compassion. By choosing peace in these moments, we help reduce hostility and foster a more positive, compassionate online environment.
Is it acceptable to withhold wishing well upon people who have committed harmful actions when we see such news?
It's natural to feel upset when hearing about harmful actions, but withholding goodwill or harboring ill will goes against the practice of metta. While we should not condone harmful behavior, wishing harm or feeling joy at someone's punishment only fuels hatred and disrupts our peace. Instead, we should continue to wish them well, just as a loving mother does for her child, even when they make mistakes. By maintaining love and compassion, we free ourselves from anger benefiting our own peace and the world at large. So here's the thing. Metta, the cultivation of unconditional and genuine love, is the key to breaking the cycles of anger and violence in our world. True peace begins with the practice of metta within ourselves. By nurturing loving kindness in our daily actions, we contribute to a global culture of compassion and harmony. As the Buddha taught, peace starts from within, and through metta, we hold the power to create lasting change for all beings. Join us in the next episodes of Unveiling Buddhism as we continue exploring how Buddha's wisdom addresses the challenges of our modern world. Adios!